I wrote the Delusions of Disbelief because I was struck by Sam Harris's book, Letter to a Christian Nation, which was a sort of rather provocative appeal to Christians to kind of think differently. And it occurred to me that he ought to be responded to by somebody or other. And as I looked around, I saw that Sam Harris was by no means alone amongst the atheists, that there had been books by Richard Dawkins, by Daniel Dennett, and then after Sam Harris's book came out, there was Christopher Hitchens, God is Not Great. So I realized that in effect I had to take on all four writers, and I called them the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse to kind of distinguish them from everybody else. What I want people to know who read this book is that atheism is on very flimsy ice, that atheism has been tried and has been found desperately wanting. There were atheist regimes in the 20th century, and they committed more evil against human beings than all of the religious wars in the previous however many centuries of human existence. So atheism has a lot to answer for. And the atheist writers always try to say, well, of course, people bring up Stalin or Mao Zedong, but either they say they were delusional atheists, which is Sam Harris's argument, or in the case of Hitchens, they say that Stalin was influenced primarily by Christianity in his adoption of a sort of anti-theistic idolatry of himself. My point is that atheists, when they come to power, must fill a vacuum that is led by the destruction of belief in God. And when they do that, they create a monster human idol which wreaks far greater havoc in human space than all of the worst religious wars put together. I've tried to point out in this book that free societies, politically free societies, are dependent first on religious freedom and second on the virtue of the citizens who compose those societies. And as the founders clearly understood and stressed again and again, you cannot have a free republic without virtuous citizens. If you just have a collection of laws and immoral people, freedom won't work. And so I believe there is a very important connection between religious freedom and religious belief on the one hand, and political freedom on the other. And I don't think the atheists understand this at all. I think my credentials for writing the book are primarily that I used to be an atheist, that I've been a journalist most of my adult life, and thirdly, that I have seen what atheism does when it runs countries like Russia and China. And I think atheism has a lot to answer for and to be accountable for. The new atheists are getting wrong what happens to human societies when atheism takes charge. They are being dishonest about the role, they are being dishonest about the evil that atheism in power has created wherever it has taken power. They are also getting wrong how political freedom is dependent upon a very fragile connection with faith in the Almighty amongst the majority of the population. Societies that have been tolerant of religion have always been tolerant of political freedom. Societies that have opposed religion have always been intolerant of political freedom too. So there is a connection. I think a rational Christian response is needed because it has to be shown that an intemperate attack upon Christian faith can be replied to graciously and courteously in a way that would make other Christians proud and would not dishonor the name of someone calling himself a follower of Christ. I don't think there is any room in Christian discourse for intemperate or angry language. My biggest hope for the book is that it will enlarge the context of conversation between unbelievers and believers, will restore some civility to the dialogue, and will give Christians a reason to be proud of the veracity of what they believe.